Hello, and welcome to another guide. This one is for Elite Dungeons 1 with Necromancy. It is same as all of them with the Tier 90 tank armor, no DPS perks or any augmentations like that. Um, it's just base kills, not best in slot, just a nice stepping point for anyone who hasn't really pushed past that like God Wars Dungeon 2 barrier. And hopefully this will give you a little bit of confidence and show you a few tips and tricks on how to get it done. So we're just going to start with our weapon poison, our prayers, getting everything ready. Our Jaspic book is turned on, and kind of the first obstacle we're going to hit are these guys here. It's a great place to use your healing AoE to keep your health nice and high. And then what I personally like to do to clear this is use your Soul Scythe ability. If you spam out all three of them, it should do a pretty good job of pretty much clearing everything, and then you're good to go to the next spot. So after doing everything and kind of rolling through everybody and killing everybody, you can teleport out to restock. After you kill the three minions there in the corner, you can get ready to go. And once you teleport back into the Chamber of the Guardian, we can start that boss fight. Also, just as an FYI, as you can tell, I have the Blood Reaver Familiar. I usually set his auto fire to 3 or 4, depending on the situation. But that's just kind of helps with the heals. It's a little bit more expensive. And if you want to cut down on costs or if you want to kind of up the speed, I try to camp Soul Split throughout all of these videos just to show that you can. But if you're a little more comfortable with prayer flicking, if you're a little bit more comfortable with defensives and all kinds of stuff like that, you can always swap to a Hellhound, which is just cheaper and more defensive, or a Ripper Demon, which does a lot more damage and is again also cheaper. The Blood Reaver pounding out scrolls is kind of costly at the moment, but that is all. And also, if you look at my inventory, this is kind of my go-to is some Ceradomans and some Blubbers, but those are really only backup if I need it. I like to just have a couple of the Portent of Restorations. They automatically heal you when you get under 50% health, and it's no adrenaline, no anything like that. It's just kind of mindless free healing, and I have recently enjoyed relying on those, and then the food is just worst case scenario. But either way, you're going to start up the fight. You're going to summon everything for free because you can do that. You're going to command your ghost and your skeleton and get everything ready, your life transfer to extend the timers, and you're going to start the fight. The split soul, again, with everything necromancy, is a huge portion of your damage, and you're going to just kind of do your typical living death rotation. The main thing you're going to notice in this fight that kind of can tank a lot of people is what you just saw here is you're going to start on the left, and once he shoots his water beam cannon, whatever you want to call it, right there, you're going to go to the right. And if you just kind of bounce back and forth, left and right, you're never going to get hit by it. It's really a punishing mechanic, but it's also extremely easy to avoid. The next is this smoke you see over my head. I like to just drop it in the corner. Then it really doesn't affect the fight. You can always go farther in the corner. You can drop it closer if you want to. It's totally up to you. But there's really no need to do anything crazy. There's more advanced strategies of going behind him. But for now, for learning, should be really simple of, as always, look at your stacks. If you have 6 necrosis stacks, use the Finger of Death. If you have 3 souls or 5 souls, if you're using the tier 95 gear, then use your volley. And with that, it's just a couple of rotations and it's done. You'll see I even got a PR on this because most of my kills I do with other people. I try to bring learners and take people. I don't do a lot of solos. But that being said, the next critical kind of important bit are these Death Lotus rogues. And If you kill him really quickly, it's no big deal. But if you don't kill him quickly, you'll see this wonderful blue bar in a second. And that is some massive ranged hits, and they hit like a truck. They'll delete you before you even realize what's going on. Then you're going to be cruising through, and the next kind of important section is right here with these melee guys. And they also, like the Rangers, have a special attack with the blue bar. And if you're not praying melee, again, they will delete you before you even know what happens. So this is a great area to use your threads of fate, kind of dump out some huge hits. If you have your soul scythe, again, that's another great way to kind of nuke these guys down. And the cool thing about the soul scythe and being surrounded by this many, mobs is it gives you back souls potentially. And since you use your threads of fate, you can always kind of just single dump your soul sap, which is the AoE stun single soul hit, and that's a good way to kind of clear out any remaining, mobs. Um, right after this portion, there's these two cheeky rangers hiding in the corner, and I like to sort of hop out, drag them, bring them so they're a little bit out of the way, and zoom away. You're going to see my health goes really low because I didn't pray ranged, and those guys, again, they'll delete you before you know what's happening. So don't do what I did. Pray ranged, and that won't happen. Or if you just kind of want to kill them real quick, get them out of the way, that's also perfectly fine. But the goal is to kill those zealots. Once you can surge down there, you can teleport out, you can reset, nothing's going to be bugging you, and we can move on to Masuda. So Masuda's notoriously one of the most frustrating bosses in ED1, and that is simply because he's time gated, and nobody enjoys time gated. Nobody is patient, myself included. He's remarkably frustrating. But once you figure him out, he isn't hard. He's just annoying. So you're going to just be doing, again, camping soul split, doing your living death rotation, and then you're going to get this spin mechanic. And you want to make sure you're praying melee because it hits really hard. And it hits really hard even through your melee prayers. So the big thing is but it ramps up the damage. So once it starts really chunking you, that's when you want to use devotion. So the only real concern with this fight is if you dump out all of your adrenaline really quickly at the start and you don't have enough for that devotion, that's where a lot of people die. Another big thing is this purple smoke. That's going to be a big mage hit. Just pray mage and you'll be fine. It won't do anything. Uh, Especially, again, with the tank armor, you have so much health in reserve that as long as you're keeping your health high, which I haven't touched any of my food, if you noticed, those portents are just between the portents and the blood reaver, they're just doing their own work and they're keeping my health high and I'm not even paying attention to it. So now you're killing all of these thrashing waters, and it's really important that you kill them, but more important is that you kill them while you're standing in melee distance right next to them. And the reason for that is they give you this wonderful buff that reduces a lot of the damage that Masuda does in the next phase. And if you do that, so his attacks are going to turn into ranged attacks in the next phase. And then he slams you every now and then with some pretty heavy magic attacks. So this buff from these thrashing waters is going to make it so that magic attack really doesn't do much damage at all. It's going to be negligible at best. So you'll have two options of either then camping the ranged prayer for the rest of the fight and letting the blood reaver or letting your ghost kind of heal you, or you can just camp soul split and heal that way and kind of overpower everything he does because his ranged attack isn't too terrible. Um, so after you kill these and he starts attacking you, you can always, before you go back onto him, you can always summon everything for free. I didn't. That's, I'm just kind of showing the worst case scenarios, but and that there's always room for improvement, but you can always target the Thrashing Waters, kill him, and then before you target back him, you can summon everything for free and cruise through the damage. But it's again just more build your necrosis stacks, build your souls, dump your damage, and as long as you got, I like to see at least 30% or more. So as long as you got above that or near that, you don't really need to pay attention to your prayer flicking. You can just soul split and kind of just pound your way through the rest of this fight, and it's not all that bad. If you need to, the other awesome part of Necro is that bone shield. You can throw on reflect, and that will kind of keep you alive throughout this whole second phase, and then you're good to go and move on. Then after him are these really annoying defense pylons. They hit mage and they hit really hard. It's kind of like they stack you out pretty quickly. The dodge chance, as you just saw, it's really nice because you are getting hit so much, but you don't need to attack those initial 4. I see a lot of people that kind of attack those first 4. You can just run right past them and move to this middle area. And once you do that and you want to hopefully have enough adrenaline for devotion, you kill these really quickly and it'll extend your devotion. You should be just fine. And once all of these are dead and buried, you are ready to move on to Seiryu. So Seiryu is intimidating, but not crazy difficult. So real quick, we have my kind of gear here. Seiryu can't be poisoned, so if you want to, you can always change out of your Cinder Banes. I wasn't using an aura this whole time, but I'm going to use Majorat, and you can really use any aura you want. Inspiration for extra adrenaline, the Aegis for extra defensive. You can use Vampirism if you want the healing. Penance, really, anything works. It's totally up to you and whatever you have on cooldown or whatever you want to use at the time. The biggest thing is just the fact that the only, I would say, important part of this setup, and even if you don't have it, it's not the end of the world, is, as always, the Zuck Cape. That's kind of your biggest DPS boost. You can use whatever book you want. If you're comfortable with taking extra damage, full is kind of just a nice flat damage boost. Jas is always nice because Necro has pretty solid damage that you'll never really be lacking on its stored up damage. When is nice. Anything works. But just that's kind of up to you, whatever you have pages of available, whatever you want. And then summon everything and get ready to go. So I didn't get 100% adrenaline, and that is only because since I'm not going for, speeds or fast kills or anything crazy like that, this first portion of the fight is just getting Seiryu down to 7.2 million health. You're not actually killing Seiryu here. You're just kind of, in a way, biding time. You're just using this. You can use this to just build stacks. If you really wanted to, you could just auto attack your way through the whole thing and take 30 minutes. It doesn't matter. As long as you understand the mechanics, which is that giant breath that you saw, and you either pray mage or you can rezo or, anything works, or just have high health. And what you just saw there is those little black spots and the hands. And those don't hit you as long as you keep moving. So the name of the game with Seiryu is just kind of don't stand still. And if you're not standing still, you're not going to die. That's really all there is. And don't stand super up close where you see on the right side those hands spawning. Because if those spawn underneath you and you don't even realize it, those will hit pretty hard, which is why Melee's never been super fantastic here. You kind of have to camp right in front of Seiryu's face, but that's besides the point. So anyways, you're going to jump up to get to the shackle, the collar, whatever you want to call it, and you're going to start killing these black crystals. And for this kill, we're going for a 2-cycle, and it's a really easy 2-cycle. And if you upgrade, if you have better damage, if you do more, you can 1-cycle, but this is a very consistent and easy way to 2-cycle. So you're going to zoom in, you're going to use your split soul, your invoke death, and you're just going to start doing damage. If you have Dominion mines, you can use those. It'll make it way easier. It'll make it faster. It probably would allow for a pretty fairly simple 1 cycle. It'll definitely make sure you never need the 3 cycle, but you're just going to do damage on this first crystal, nuke it down, and that's it. You're not going to worry. If you can murder this next crystal before the heals, if you can get it down, fantastic. But if you can't, it's not a problem. Just build up, see what you can do, make sure you get your invoke death, make sure you have all your summons, you're good to go. Because your whole goal is after all these heals come through, you just want to do as much damage as you can until it throws you back down. If you can get it to under half health, then you're golden. And that's honestly just going to be 1 or 2 fingers and a full volley, and you should be really, really close. And if you get really lucky with some hits, you might even have Invoke Death take it down for you. But as you see, I got it to like 40,000, 44,000. Once you get thrown back down, use Freedom, use your Threads of Fate, kill all these blobs so they don't go up and heal and kind of ruin everything you just did. But now is just the waiting game, because for your 2 cycle, since that crystal is so low, you're going to go up and you're pretty much just going to touch it once or twice and it's going to die instantly. And then you're going to kill that third crystal just the way you did the first one, and it's an easy 2 cycle. Again, there are definitely easier, faster ways. Well, I shouldn't say easier, but there's faster ways. This is just the super, super simple, no stress, no fuss 2 cycle that will work pretty much every single time. As long as you're not just ignoring your entire, screen, then and you have all your conjures, you'll be good to go. And that's really all there is to it. It's not super difficult. It's just a lot of running around at this portion and then waiting patiently and biding your time and getting ready to go. Just keep your health high, soul split, don't stop moving. And once you get to that 7.2, jump back up on the side that you started on. That's also important, because if you don't, you might miss out on killing that middle crystal, and then it would be a 3 cycle. But just get Saryu's health down, and you're good to go. So we'll just let this finish out, and it should be an easy kill. And with that, hopefully, this whole guide gave you a couple tips, tricks, pointers in the right direction, so you can start progressing a little bit farther, getting a little bit more confident in what you guys are capable of. And best of luck in all of your ED1 runs.